So if I'm reading this the right way, folks, I think today that movie, The Strangers, Pray at Night, debuted in movie theaters all across the country, most likely, which is cool. This is the second installment to the what seems to be the franchise film series of The Strangers, which came out back in 2008, so that was like 10 years ago. I don't know if you saw The Strangers, because this just came across my mind. Apparently, the new film, The Strangers Pray at Night, is supposed to be better than the first film. I don't know if you saw the first film, the original The Strangers film, but I did. I remember when it first came out, I saw the previews, the advertisements prior to the film debuting in theaters. And me, I like horror flicks, I like scary movies, so I'm like, okay, this looks different. This looks interesting. All right, so I would like to check that out, which I did. I mean, the film's cool. Excuse me, the film is cool. The film is cool. I like the film. It's all right. But it really didn't do anything for me. It really didn't do anything for me, and I'll tell you why. But let's get to the good parts about The Strangers. Let's get to the good part. What did I like? What did I like? It's not a bad film, but what did I like about The Strangers? I liked the fact that The Strangers was simple. The formula was pretty darn simple. You know, that's the best way that I could put it. They didn't go too crazy with anything. It was very simple, okay? You got a couple, you got the two main characters, Kristen and James. They're basically at James's family's summer house, which apparently is in the middle of the woods. There don't seem to be any neighbors around or anything like that. They travel out there together in the middle of the night. I'm pretty sure it's the after midnight hours, okay? And they go there to basically, I don't know, go to sleep for the night or the day or something like that. Okay, that's great. I do like the fact that the film was pretty simple, okay? Now, let's get to The Strangers. The Strangers were cool. They were all right. I mean, nothing about the film really scared me. I wasn't even thinking about being scared throughout the entire film. I mean, I could possibly come up with some reasons as to why the normal average person might be scared in certain situations, certain scenes. But for me, I'm just watching this thing like, okay. I mean, it didn't irritate me or anything like that. I mean, there were some parts that I thought was just very common, basic, simple mindfuckery. I mean, just the ways that the strangers were, and when I'm talking about the strangers, I'm talking about the intruders for some people, but the trio of masked villains or whatever you want to call them, the strangers. Let's just stick to the title, the strangers. Okay. It felt like for the majority of the film, they were really just messing with the couple, James and Kristen. They were really just messing with them. That's probably my favorite part of the film. It's like they were just messing with them. And it was just, like I said, very simple scare tactics like, ooh, what was that? I thought I heard something, like, random subtle noises in the distance or that sounds like they came from outside, stuff like that was happening throughout the entire film, and I thought that was cool. I really found it freaking funny. It's like, wow, they are really messing with you. In particular, Kristen. I felt like for the most part, the strangers were really messing with Kristen heavy. They were really just like, okay, yeah, we got these folks shook. And what are you going to do? You're in a house, which is only one level. There's no second floor or basement or anything like that. You're in a house, which is not too big, but not too small. You're in a house in the middle of the woods during the after midnight hours, after 12 o'clock a.m., no one's out here, no one's around, you don't have any neighbors to get scared and run to and be like, oh, call the police. None of that. It's just me, your significant other over there, and it's us three, the strangers. Which is cool, I could deal with that, but like I said, I don't know, maybe because I've just been watching scary movies and horror flicks. I'll just say horror flicks because I don't scare easy. It just doesn't happen when the first half of your life you spent growing up in the hood and seeing a bunch of unique situations and people. and actually speaking to them up close sometimes, which I do. I talk to people for a living. It's okay. I mean, nothing about the film was really making me thinking about getting scared. It was done well, so I'm sure it scared the bejesus or whatever they call it out of some people. But for me, I was just like, okay, nicely done, but cool. That's all. I just watch films. It's a movie, and I knew that. I came to that understanding as a kid. Also, it's like it's a movie. I'm watching a movie. It's like, okay, cool. Like I said, it wasn't a bad flick. You know, I do like how they did the jump scares. I do like how they executed the jump scares in the film. I thought that was really good because it was simple. Like I said, the film was done. The execution of the film was very simple, and that's fine. It was simple. The jump scares were simple. You know, I think, and you know, throughout the years, over the last 10 or whatever years, I think we got to a point. You know, I think people got to a point in filmmaking where the jump scares became somewhat of a thing, you might want to call it, where just, you know, when it came to the jump scares, people just got really over the top with the jump scares and just doing way too much, you know. I like in this film, the jump scares were really pretty simple and pretty realistic, you know, especially when you feel like you have 2, maybe 3 people outside of your house in the middle of the freaking woods in the darkness, preferably nowhere, that you have the impression that I think these folks are messing with us, but at the same time, it's like, but why? What the heck? What's going on here? And it was really that part was a little interesting, but you know, I just watch films for face value, and throughout the film, you know, while the strangers were there, they were just messing with James, they were just messing with Kristen, his significant other, and it was just like, wow, and they knew it. Like I said, they knew it too. They knew it. And of course, you can't have a house, not too big, not too small, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, for the most part, without having a barn. Of course, you got a barn. Big ups to those early Friday the 13th films earlier on in the early to mid 80s in that film franchise series. Big ups to them, because there was always a barn. And this film was no different. They had a barn. But anyway, the barn is beside the point right now. Let me see. What else is there that I actually liked about the film? I think the simplicity of the film and how basically, for the most part, everything was executed. That's what I enjoyed the most about the film. What didn't I like about the film? I don't know, really, if there are any dislikes that I could bring to your attention right now. I just feel like, you know, they were messing with the couple. The strangers were messing with the couple throughout the whole film. I mean, it was interesting. They were messing with them the whole film. Nothing happens to the strangers whatsoever, okay? Nothing happens to them. Nothing happens to them. Nobody gets scratched. Nobody gets kicked in the kneecap or the area. Nothing happens to these 3. Nothing happens to them. Come on, nothing? I mean, I think there was a good degree of realism, you know, invested in the film, but dang, nothing happens to these cats? And I understand 2 average people, 1 lady, 1 guy. I understand them being, you know, scared, perhaps even terrified in a situation like this. Okay. But let's go back to the simplicity. Like I said, the strangers, they did not have guns. James had a gun. He had a shotgun that I guess he reminded himself how to use, and he had a lot of ammunition. He had shells. Oh, he had shells for you. But he's the one with the shotgun, and he shoots his. He called his best friend earlier on to come out to the house and pick him up, and he blows his friend's head off with the shotgun. You know, we might talk about that a little bit later on. He's the only one with the gun. The strangers did not have guns. They had knives, which I can relate to because I'm a knife person. But anyway, I just like that they're sharp. But, geez. I mean, just the simplicity of the film is what I enjoy the most. I can continue to say that, but I don't want to. But nothing happens to the strangers. Nothing happens to the strangers whatsoever. I felt like they had all the right moves, if this is what the circumstances are going to be. You know, besides just, you know, messing with the girl. For the most part, they were messing with Kristen. You know, James, you know, he gets up, you know, towards the beginning like, oh, you're out of cigarettes. You want cigarettes? I'm going to go take a drive and go get you some cigarettes and I'll come back. There was a lot of time where, you know, Kristen was by herself or, you know, James wasn't around. They were separated for some reason. It's like, okay, you got the... I'm thinking maybe the idea was for the two of them, from their perspective. Towards the beginning, I felt like, okay, maybe this is just a joke, some pranksters. Some pranksters in the middle of the woods after the midnight hours in the woods. I mean, word. I wouldn't even think about it like that. And I got a sense of humor. I'm like, nah, we might want to take this seriously, but all of their options for communication were cut off, of course, by the strangers, the cell phones. Oh my goodness, it was just like the strangers, like they had like no missteps throughout this film. It's like they did everything right to execute what they were there to execute. Jeez, oh flips, oh my goodness. And then of course towards the end of the film, of course before the end, at the end, whatever, of course they kill the couple. Well, they stab the couple, they scratch and stab the couple repeated times, you know, to leave them for death. But, you know, Kristen, she survives, come to find out. I don't know if she lived through that survival, but apparently she survived. You know, the two Mormon boys, they came, they interacted with the strangers, who were unmasked at this time because they had done their part. So, you know, they interacted with the strangers as they were leaving. They were driving down the road, and then the Mormons, the two young Mormon boys, they rode up on the house, and they found Kristen and her significant other James and his good friend Mike. Mike and James died. And that goes back to the simplicity. It's like there were only 2 deaths in this film, you know, and it was, like I said, it was a good film, you know. So, you got this new film coming out. Well, it's actually out already. Today was the premiere day for the film, The Strangers Pray at Night. I'm hearing that it's supposed to be better than the first one, which it should be, because, like, it's not... The first film is The Strangers. It's not a bad film. It's just, it did nothing for me. Like, it did nothing. Like, it did nothing for me. And the strangers get away unscathed, untouched. You know, they were messing with the couple the whole film, which that was the funniest part of the film to me. But it's just like, dang, the film did nothing for me. It did nothing. It did nothing. It did nothing for me, you know. And it's not a bad film. It's just, it did nothing for me. You know, so apparently in the new film, The Strangers Pray at Night, they have a family that they're messing with now that looks like some retreat or compound or whatever it's supposed to be. Somewhere where people drive out that's located, seems to be, if not in the middle of nowhere, it's darn well close. And they go out there to vacation or whatever it is they're doing, take a break. I don't know. I don't care yet because I don't live that life. So it's supposed to be better than the original Strangers film. Hopefully that is the case, because I would like to see more. I mean, you got to give your audience more. You have to give your audience more. It's like, come on. It's like nothing happened to the strangers at all. I have yet, even in Friday the 13th films, Halloween films, Child's Play films, A Nightmare on Elm Street films, something always happened to Freddy or Chucky or Michael Myers or Jason. Something always happened to them. Somebody got a shot in. There were no shots fired. Well, I'm not talking about when, you know, James, you know, accidentally, but on purpose, shot his good friend Mike in the face. But no shots were fired from them. They got nothing in on the strangers, which was, something. Which also leads me to a quote-unquote conspiracy theory, which is just something. I'm a thinker, so this is what I do in my spare time. Well, pretty much all the time. It got me to thinking. It's like, you know, what if, let's say, because the story was James and Kristen, they were a couple. James, apparently, he proposed to Kristen, and he had it all set up for the two of them at the summer house where they were at for a celebration afterwards. But apparently Kristen said no to the proposal, but they still love each other. They're still together. Okay, that's cool. I was thinking perhaps James or even Michael or had something to do with this whole strangers deal happening. The whole reason that this film came to play, because it's like, what if, these are all what ifs, what if, you know, since Kristen said no to James, James's proposal, James is like, okay, I got something for you. So I'm going to have these two chicks and this one guy. They're all going to wear masks. They're going to randomly come knock at the front door of the summer house. Who else knows that we're here? Who else is even around here? You look like you're in the middle of nowhere. I don't care if it's the woods. After the 12 o'clock hours, 12 o'clock midnight that is, and ask for some random girl that is absolutely not here. And they're going to run this play on us. Well, for the most part, you, because I'm going to conveniently drive to the store, me being James, that is. I'm going to conveniently drive to the store and get you cigarettes because I want to see you die faster or something like that, since you said no to my proposal. And these three are basically going to mess with you the entire time that I'm away. I feel like they didn't mess with James for the most part. For the most part, I felt like they were primarily messing with Kristen. I mean, come on, and let's just say Mike's good friend James was in on this, okay? In order to get rid of the evidence, so to speak, and all types of probable cause, any other knowledge about this, James conveniently blows his good friend Mike's head off with the shotgun. So he's dead. He's out of the picture. He can't talk to nobody. If anybody does decide to conduct an investigation after this, he can't talk to anybody. He's gone. Of course, these are all what ifs, but I thought that would have been interesting. I thought that would have been interesting. And maybe, you know, towards the end where they slice and dice and stab James to what eventually kills him, maybe the strangers were thinking, you know, let's get him out of here too, so he can't talk to anybody, just in case, you know, police detectives come around investigating the situation, you know, because they left witnesses. They left the Mormon boys, okay? Just in case you haven't noticed, I don't know whether you're familiar with how Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses do when they're in neighborhoods and they're making their rounds in the neighborhood. They make their rounds. They knock on doors. They're not playing around. So it didn't surprise me one bit that the Mormons rode up to this house. I mean, there are no other houses around here, and rode into what they rode into and just saw what they saw. So, of course, that's just a conspiracy theory. Me stating that James and Mike perhaps might have been in on this because Christian rejected James's proposal, but that's a bit much, I think, simply for a no, but whatever. And he was talking about how, like, yeah, I'm going to leave, you know, I'm going to go on a road trip because I think I just need to get away, you know, called his friend Mike. Hey, Mike, take my car. I'm going to leave with you. I'm leaving. I don't know. Just a thought, you know, and the only possibility there could be, if any of what I just said is true about this whole what if scenario, let's see if they revisit it again. Let's say if they revisit or focus any attention on that potential theory in this film, or if there's another film after this one, you know, The Strangers Pray at Night. It's a what if, and at this point I even admit, yeah, it's kind of a huge what if, but it's a what if. So, you know, what if forever, you know. But I mean, the film The Strangers Pray at Night, excuse me, it looks interesting, it looks good, but that's what I said about The Strangers over 10 years ago now, wasn't it? So we'll see how this goes. The previews I've seen so far, they look interesting. It looks like there will be more to this film, you know, more characters. That would be nice, hopefully. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Otherwise, what else do I have to say? Do I have to say anything else? No, I do not. So otherwise, I hope it's a good film. And if you have anything to say, any suggestions about the initial film, The Strangers, or you go to see The Strangers Pray at Night, if you have anything to say about that, let me know. Conversation, discussion, comments, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter to me because I talk to people for a living and I listen to people for a living because you kind of have to do that. You know how people can be. But I mean, that's pretty much it. So have a good time, you know. That's it.